people.
Hello. I'm testing out my singing skills.
I'm definitely cutting this part out.
Everyone, you will not dare.
I'm cutting this
We'll
part
release 2 episodes. We'll release 2 episodes of the same content.
Guys.
One without missing. Because what do you mean?
We're excited to be here.
Welcome, guys.
Welcome back.
Hi.
Welcome to the 5th episode of
Girls Classes God Podcast.
Woo! The fact that you actually shouted this time. Oh my God, what's happening?
We don't do that, Ebun.
The fact that you shouted
You
this time.
almost got me to do it.
No,
but
you
we
did
don't
it.
do that. You
And
almost
I'm proud
got me
of you.
to do it.
Baby
and
steps,
we
guys.
Don't do that.
Baby steps. I'm proud of you. Welcome, guys. Welcome
Hi.
back. We
Hi.
have released 4 episodes. Oh my God.
It feels so good.
I know.
It feels so good.
I know.
We have one song that they used to sing. I can't remember. I think it was an MTN song. Yeah, that who sang it? Is it an MTN song?
Well, they used it in one of their ads, but that's not it.
Feel good.
Feel good. I feel good.
I got you.
Oh my God, but it's been a great time.
Yep.
It's been a great time. We've had fun. We've inspired people. We've told our stories. Oh, we are trying though.
Talked about love.
As in, we've talked about love. This is the season of love, actually.
Love.
And this February is dedicated to love. Love in different form. Love in different shapes.
Platonic love.
Every form of
Romantic
love
love.
that you can imagine.
Agape love.
And we are
Philomena
still
love.
here. We are yet to hear your own stories about love.
Yeah.
And we'd love to hear it. But before we start, again, please follow us.
Yes.
Actually, follow us on Instagram. Follow us on this, whatever podcast platform you're watching us on. And follow us on Instagram. Right now, we are at 41 followers, right?
Yeah.
Baby steps. And then we've promised.
Yeah, we are promising.
Okay.
We are promising.
We are promising that would.
When we hit 100 followers, Ebu is going to do a special dance.
Something's wrong with you. What did you say? It was great.
But we, Girls Glasses God, the hosts of this podcast, we're going to do a special dance for you guys.
Yeah, we'll do a celebratory
Never
dance.
before seen.
Because we are going to be celebrating all the steps we'll be having, because every success is a success here.
Yeah.
So small steps, small victory. So yes,
So
help us
the minute we get to 100
to hit
followers,
that 100.
we're going to show you our
followers.
dance steps. So
Very awesome. It's one in town. You don't.
oh god,
You can't see it anywhere else.
You need to see it. So that's why you need to get your people to subscribe, get your people to follow us, and all of that.
Yeah, please
Thank
share.
you so much for the support.
Share. Help us to get
us
to
to grow.
100, and then we move from there.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what are we talking about today? Oh no, before we talk about what we're talking about today, what have you been up to
Evan, you always ask this question first, so let me ask you the question first. What have you been
in
up
your
to?
mind, though?
Yeah.
Anyway, on another episode of watching series and documentaries, there was one documentary I saw recently, and I can't remember the name of the documentary, but if you have seen it on Netflix, you know what I'm talking about. So documentary, do you know this song? We Have the World.
You know the
We
Michael
have
Jackson
the
one?
children.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So I listened to that song the first time in 2008, 2007. I can't remember.
Okay.
But apparently the song was in the late 19s,
Yeah,
19
we
whatever.
refreshed
So
it.
so I think it was for, hey, what's one of this country?
Is it Haiti? The one in this thing was the one for Haiti. Yeah.
You know, when there was hunger, whatever stuff that was happening there, and then people came together. So I watched. Number one, I love watching documentaries because I love BTS. I love behind the
When you say
behind the
BTS,
scenes.
it makes it sound like you're saying
I beg.
the band.
I'm not saying the band.
Well, just so you know, it's better for you to say behind the scenes than saying BTS.
Yeah, no one
Because
that
then
know
you
that
are
one. No.
calling-
That's why I said I love BTS
When you
behind
say
the scenes.
BTS, naturally
Omo-Olorun,
people think about
please. I
naturally
know
people
you are
think
fighting
about the
because-
band. Okay, people think about. I'm just being honest. And if you're also a fellow army, shout out to you.
Please get out. Anyway, I love BTS behind
Everyone
the
say
scenes.
behind the
I
scenes.
love
Don't even say BTS.
behind the scenes.
Okay, I want to assume that you are a stan. You are a secret stan. So
I'm not understanding anything.
I want to assume you're a secret stan. You're just hiding from us. But don't worry, one day we'll expose you. But yeah, go on. BTS stan.
I love
Fellow army.
I love behind the scene videos. So I love to see documentary of what happened, especially things that I've seen before, things that I know. I love to see what goes on, behind putting things up together.
Yeah.
So I saw this whole documentary of how people came together to put up. If you've watched that video or if you listen to that song, you know that these are like 40 stars.
Yeah.
Like not just stars, but these are like Grammy award winning stars that came together to sing a song, like volunteering for free. And then so I watched how we started, and I was like, I saw Michael Jackson, and I'm like, people so God gives some people gifts. Let's be very honest. Like, I mean, he's dead now, but I was like, So the first thing that came to my mind, because when I watch things like this, I don't just watch it. I love to like reflect and see how, like just take away some things. And I'm like, I'm sure people came together because of one or two persons. Yeah. So let me tell you what I mean. So it must have been someone that have good influence, great character, integrity, one that has been there for somebody to invite other people to say, let's do this. And
they are willing to come. Yeah.
In fact, from that documentary, most of them came from an award show. It was an American award. I can't remember the name of that award. So they now came from the award. People like Michael Jackson, Prince, like all of these top people. So they came together. Some of them won awards. So imagine just saying that people came from Grammys.
Yeah.
And then they came together to sing a song for free. Like in that room, they did not have bodyguard. They did not have, it was just one room that people, so-called celebrities of the world. So imagine seeing Beyonce, Rihanna, like all these
top artists.
Yeah, Drake, like everybody coming together to say, oh, let's sing the song. Yeah. So I was like, number one, it must have taken some kind of influence to draw people together in the first place. Number two, I was not like, do you know, I didn't think about how awkward it would have been. For instance, if you know celebrities, not everybody gels the same way.
Yeah.
Everybody's a star in their village. So when I was not watching, like when all of them came, it was awkward at first because it was like maybe I know you, and then I talk to you. Talk. Obviously they know themselves, like everybody knows somebody else exists, but they don't really have that kind of relationship. So I saw how it was awkward at first, and the producer was not trying to lighten up the mood, and then like the influence that a lot of people played, and some people could not take. Some people left. Actually, some people actually left during the recording. So so I think there was one part I really liked, the part where somebody asked for another person's autograph, which was cool. Really weird. And then when that started, every other person started asking for that.
Nice. Again, as like a ripple effect.
Yeah. So as they were doing the documentary, they were interviewing some people in the recent times. So they were now reflecting back on. So one of them said, she saw that what was happening until somebody came and told her, can I have your own autograph? She now felt so, know how everybody, you are seeing somebody else and you're like, this person's a star. You know you're a star, but you're also seeing somebody else and you're like, this person's a star. Yep. So that was really cool for me. I was like, like what kind of person? Like again, I reflect a lot. I'm like, okay, so if I want to call people now, am I the kind of person that when I need people to come together, people to do some, people will respect the vision and say, Ebun is calling me to do this, I'll show up. Do you get? Or am I the kind of person that people say, I beg you? God forbid though.
Yeah, honestly, because it takes a lot of influence, like you said, and a lot of natural. I think you need to be very genuine because people can always tell when somebody is bullshitting them or like running them around.
I agree.
So you have to be very intentional, very genuine to people for them to like come through for you in that kind of situation. So that must have been very amazing to see. And
it was. If you have not seen it, I think you need to see again. Because I love real life stories. So I watch real life story movies. I watch documentaries because I'm like, these are things that have happened. I want to see what was going on. And I love when they interview people in real time. I'm like, and these people tell what was going on in their mind at that point. So I'm like, I never really thought about it like that. To like 40 stars that are like, you know how Nigerian celebrities, they have people are banting, people are fans. This person and make this person against it. So you now imagine people now coming together, leaving their ego, putting like in that room. They did not allow any bodyguard. It was just the stars,
just the celebrities,
and not really everybody could. Not everybody came. Not everybody could take it, but like 40 people came, and some people had verses, some people did not, and that still did not stop them from because this is a song that I listened to in 2000s, in the early 2000s, but this song was sung in like I think 1980 something, 1990 something. Do you get? And this song is still influencing people. Yeah. And I can't remember how much they said they raised. They raised like hundreds of millions, maybe like millions of billions of dollars till date. So like they're still raising. So imagine what something that you do. Mike Jackson is dead.
Yeah.
but there's no way you mention that song and you mention his
You
name.
talk about him.
So imagine you doing something and then
Yeah.
in like 10, 15 years,
People are
20,
still
30,
talking
50
about it.
years
It
to
still
come,
has like a
it's
positive
still touching
effect
lives. I'm
on
like,
everything.
and people that now walked
That's
away.
amazing.
Some people do things that they don't regret to, but in my mind, I'm like,
There's no way you will not regret. You might not just say
Exactly.
it out, but in your mind you're like, what if?
yeah, like what if I had stayed? Like, I mean, especially when I seen the results of things like this. So anyway, long story. That's one thing that I did that really touched my life. I said that, hey, God, I'm sounding like I'm not like a that's one thing that was
actually-
really cool. That was really interesting.
The way you mentioned it now, it makes me feel like I should actually go and watch the documentary.
No, you
Because I
need
know the
to.
song. I think I'll check for it. So
Yeah.
that was interesting for you. What did I do? I don't
Yeah.
think
What did you do?
I don't think I had a lot going on this week. I think I was more focused on like classes. Oh, I did travel though. I went to Washington. for I did a road
Did you
trip.
visit the White House?
Yeah, I shook
Like, get out.
the president's hand. And it was like, oh my God. So it was a surreal experience, guys. You need to do it. You
Okay.
need to try it. But yeah, it was a long trip. Tiring. Came back safely. Thank God for that. But I think majorly I just had classes. I had meetings, several meetings. It was really boring this week. So
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
I feel like anytime I talk about what I be, do you know, I actually do work, but like I never, like every time I talk about from work, and the funny thing is 90% of my week is work.
Yeah.
But
like,
I
if
mean,
you're only
there's
talking
nothing
about
happening.
work,
There's
yeah.
even nothing happening. What am I supposed to say about work? Like,
You're
work
like,
was fine.
work is
I was
nice.
working.
It's going well. I made 2 friends.
Yeah, but
I
yeah.
spoke to.
Anyway, so that's it. That's
One
it.
day we'll interview Ebun.
About what?
Tell us about your working life. As a working class babe, give us advice. Give us pieces of advice. Or pieces of advices.
Okay.
Depending on however which one you want.
I'm just here laughing. So what are we talking about today?
What are we talking? I don't understand.
Sometimes you need a little ginger.
Oh shit.
What are we talking about today?
What are we talking about today? We're talking about self-love and self-care.
Right.
I want to start on a very controversial note.
Okay. I love controversial.
Have you ever heard people talk about how if you say self-love, self-love is like a sin?
Yeah. How so?
You've never heard it because
No, let me
people are like,
hear your opinion. Like,
so
in
this is
what
not my
sense?
opinion. I'm trying to say like what the controversial
Okay.
opinion is. So that love is from God.
Okay.
Like the true love is from God. Like I think we talked about this in our last episode.
Yeah.
True love is from God. So when you say self-love, it's like you're ascribing
Yourself
love
as
to your
God.
yeah. So it's like you're ascribing love to yourself, which is like you're not supposed to, not like you're not supposed to give love to yourself, but you're not supposed to believe that you can be like you can be the one to love yourself. Like the love you will give yourself is enough for you. Something like that. Like I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say. But like there are
kind
people
of.
that think self-love is like, okay, it's like vain, it's selfish.
Okay.
So I think that's like the angle of that opinion is like self-love is selfish. You can't really, it's not really about you. It's about like, okay, what can you do for other people, blah, 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 blah. But you should not have like, it becomes vain at a particular point, especially the self-love that is being preached
Okay.
right now. So thoughts.
What do I think? I think number one, it's what goes on in your mind that matters. And number two, I feel like sometimes people take some things too deep. So now, the Bible says love your neighbor as yourself.
Yeah.
There's yourself. There's the self part of it, right? Which means love yourself, because if you don't love yourself, you cannot even love your neighbor.
True.
So it's like that part that says, oh, if you cannot slap yourself, how will you slap somebody else? That kind of a thing. So there's, in my opinion, you have to love yourself. You have to acknowledge God's love for you. And then you have to understand that God made you for a purpose. So you have to love that part of you. And then you now project that love for somebody else. Now, it's different. There's a difference between loving yourself and being selfish. I feel like they're not the same thing, in my opinion. I feel like they're not the same thing. If you are selfish, it's not because you love yourself. It's just because there's another spirit inside of you. You know what that reminds me of? Like, you need to cast out. Don't take me too seriously.
Yeah.
But like, it's not I don't say that, I feel like I think you are taking it. I feel like sometimes people just like to take something and then make it so deep and then bring out a particular. Some things are just
people want to have opinions about certain things. And they want to have like deep opinions about
you now
things.
start saying, what's the Hebrew name of self-love? Let's go.
Let's go back to the.
In my opinion, it's not necessary. It's just like, okay, so I think the question that you need to ask yourself if you're in that position is, okay, what exactly is self-love? Which I'll direct back to you. Like, what do you think is self-love? When you're saying self-love, what does that mean?
I think it's just having a healthy understanding of the value that you add in whatever situation that you're in, or the value that you bring not only to the world, to people, to yourself, I would say, because it's important that you also esteem yourself to a particular level.
Right.
So whatever value you're able to bring to like the world around you and you like and the world around, like your sphere of influence, right? So I think that's like self-love. That's what I think it is. And a lot of times too, people feel that they have to, and I think sometimes too, people like view self-love as like an esteem booster. So you have all these things that you say to yourself, like, oh, even when times when you don't feel confident, times when you don't feel like maybe life has been hitting you on all sides and all of that, how do you like jack your spirit up, or like how do you make yourself happy, or things like that. So I think it's a healthy thing to think about, as long as you understand that you're not the one, ultimately you're not the one that is in charge of your life, right? You're not the one that is in charge of your greater happiness or joy, and that joy can be found in God, but also understanding that God has also made you for a purpose, like you said, and God has given you, the Bible says that he will not give you something greater than you can bear. So even in times when it looks like, oh, what's happening, what's all this and all that, I still like remember that God will not give me something greater than I can bear. Absolutely. So like that's how you now affirm yourself and say, I can do this, I'm bigger than this, or this thing is not greater than me, or whatever.
I agree with you. And I think I'll start from the last thing that you said about how God has created you for a particular purpose, and then you have to understand it. He's like, male and female, he created them, and then he said, anytime God created something, he said it was good. Let us make man our own image, and then when he created man, he blessed him, right? So you should understand from that perspective that God has created you for a purpose, and you have to love the fact that you are not just here, you're not a useless being. You have to take it in that, oh no, I have a purpose, I carry something inside of me. So anytime I step out, you go with that boldness of, no, God has created me for a particular purpose, so I'm going to love myself. And then I think self-love is also understanding the fact that, again, let us make man in our own image, in our own likeness, which means that,
you are like God, like you carry the characteristics of God.
Beautiful, because it's like, what are the things I used to describe God is beautiful, God. So you're like, God has created me in his own image, so I am beautiful. Like, like God has not given me the spirit of weakness, I give you your love. So these are things that you love that whole being that God has created, basically. So I don't think it's a sin to understand that, no, God has drop this whole package on earth, and then I have to take it in. And that does not mean that there are times, and that's why, just like you said, when there are times that looks like, when it's now looking like maybe something happens or somebody says something, and then you're not feeling like, I'm actually worthless, and that's the time to go back and say, no, you created me for something, and then I'm not who this person thinks I am. I'm not what this person says I am, right? My existence is not based on what this person has said, how fat people think I am, or how these people think I am. It's based on the kind of purpose. So I think it also affects how you now carry yourself. True. Because if you feel like, some people feel like maybe I'm useless, or I'm not useless, obviously. Maybe somebody feels like I'm this, I'm just here, I can't do anything. Then the way it shows in the way you just carry yourself anyhow.
That is the truth. You don't value yourself. You don't rate yourself, basically. And it's not uncommon for people it's not uncommon for there to be times where you're like, Omo, am I sure I'm really this, like, or am I sure that I can do this, or things like that. But I think one verse that always comes to mind when things like that happen is, and David encouraged himself in the Lord. And I'm like, see, you have to, there are some times that you just, so that's why I'm always part of, let me not say I'm always for speaking positive things, right? Like, I don't speak, anytime I say anything negative, immediately I'm saying, Derek will always make fun of me. Derek will be like, Temitope said, maybe something like, this thing, I don't even know. He will be like, maybe I say something like, I'm even feeling very stupid. And I'll be like, God forbid, I'm not feeling stupid in the name of Jesus. You know, he's always making fun of me now. Temitope will say something now, she'll not say the opposite immediately. And I'm like, yes, so because a lot of times when I start saying I'm tired, I always say it because even Iyanu, she knows most times when I start saying I'm tired, I start feeling physically tired. I'm not saying I'm tired because I'm actually tired, but maybe because I have a lot of things I want to do and it feels like there's not enough time or a lot of people are trying to get my attention and you know, things like that. I'm not starting saying I'm tired. I'm tired. But I realized over time that once I say that, I now start becoming tired.
Yeah.
Like I start becoming weak mentally, physically and all of that. So most times I'm like, no, I'm not tired. I can do this. I can, you know, so it's very important that you remember what your source is.
Yeah.
It's very important that you draw from it when it's time. And even when you are not feeling like it, you still do the same thing.
Yeah.
There are times when I'm not feeling good and I'm still saying, oh yeah, sure, like I'm the best or what, I'm this and what I'm that. But you might not be feeling it, but the moment you're saying it, you can't when you're saying, oh, I'm the best or I'll win this or I'm great, I understand everything I read, you know, you'll be forced to like acknowledge those words and it will actually happen.
Yeah.
But when you're like, oh, I can never understand this thing, or I don't have sense, or I'm stupid, or there's no how, it's going to ultimately affect you. It's ultimately going to become a reality for you. So then it's not be like, I already said it now that I don't have sense. I already said that I'm stupid, or I said that I can never carry first position. You know, things like that.
Making me laugh. How you jokingly say that you don't have sense? You know, like
no, this is in quotes. So because I have sense in the name of Jesus.
no, you have sense. I'm
and I
just
will never
saying,
be
like,
stupid.
like sometimes when you like, for example, if I do something like sort of that sense,
Yeah.
I get out. I feel like it's just, but I mean, obviously we have sense. But I think it's very important to carry yourself in that. You know, you have everybody has a purpose, and once you understand that, you have value inside of you that you can give onto people, that people can draw from, then you carry yourself differently.
Yeah.
So
and even just thinking about how you present yourself to the world, I think a lot of times, you know, just like you were saying, that when you don't feel that, you know, you can always tell when somebody has a problem with their esteem. You can always tell when somebody lacks confidence.
Yeah.
You can always tell, you know, as much as you try, even in things that you say, you will make some kind of jokes that people will be like, that you will know that you don't rate yourself, like you don't believe in yourself, you don't believe in the things that you can do. So most times it's like, oh, there's this popular quote, fake it till you make it, right? So sometimes I'm like, yeah, you can fake it till you make it, honestly, but you have to fake it in the sense that you know that you can make it, but right now you're not feeling it that, oh, I can make it, so you are faking it till you make it because that's what the word says. But if you don't even, if you hate yourself, or if you don't even have love for yourself, there's no way you can brainwash yourself. There's no way you can speak all those things and make it happen. And I think that's where like growing up comes in. Like, what have you experienced in your growing up? What have you experienced in like your youth, in your days of beginnings, right? Like, were people always talking at you and saying, oh, you will not be great, or oh, you are very stupid, or you have coconut head? You know, there's some things that people say. You know, when you even think about like maybe when you were in secondary school or something, or primary school, there's some students that teachers will always say, this one, you cannot make it, you cannot do this, you cannot do that, or you're always scoring 0. And you know, it wasn't until like later on that you realize that school is not like for everybody. I won't say school is not for everybody though. Some people have what you are good at. Some people like the mathematics, the numbers, the finance.
some people is sport.
Some people
is
is
not even
sport,
anything
Some people is
educational.
like art. So you know, people that see things like, they see the world differently through art, they might not see the world through numbers, you know, things like that. So when you now focus and you now say, oh, you can only become like you can only do mathematics, or you can only do like numbers or whatever, they won't excel. They won't excel. And when you now start like trying to punch down on them and push them and say, oh, you need to do this, like to conform them to like what you want, they will grow up with problems. They will grow up with identity issues. They will grow up with self-esteem issues. And it takes a while. It takes a while to like break out of all those things.
Yeah, so I think that's the other part I was going to say. Like, the flip side is, in a way, we are a product of our experience. We're a product of how we grew up. We're a product of what surrounds us, what we've seen, what we've heard. And going the root of this, the root of anybody, the root of the community and society is the family. That's where everybody starts from, the family, right? And I think it's very important for people that have a family to create that sense of purpose and value for their kids. Like, that's where it starts from. I think a lot of people that have self-confidence since they were small stems from this fact. Some people unfortunately did not have that experience. And I think we can talk about, okay, if you did not have that experience of being loved, how do you now twist it? Because again, when you are grown, you know how people say a dried fish cannot be bent because you're already dry, so you just break. You know, compared to a fresh fish.
Yeah.
So now people are grown. They've grown with
all
people
those
have
ideologies,
all sorts of experience,
yeah.
like all sorts of experiences. For instance, for me now, growing up, I grew up in an environment where my father believes that you can be anything you want to be. People ask me, "Oh, how are you a physiology graduate, become a child accountant like 1 or 2 years after graduation, going into business, doing all the like." I literally, but it's because the way I grew up, my father believes that you can be a doctor at the same time a lawyer, at the same time an engineer, at the same time like that's my father's idea, and at the same time be able to do sports, be able to play the instrument.
So even I think my dad is also like that, because you know sometimes when it's like your father is even dreaming bigger than you. Sometimes
That's
there are
my
some things that
father.
are happening. My father will be like, "You can be like this woman, you can be greater than her." And I'm like, "Okay, sir."
That's exactly what my father. If you notice, anytime I have conversation with my father, I call him out and say, "My child doctor," because he still believes that I can be a doctor, even like being child like so you know the way you grew up is very, and that's why you've heard me have conversations with my parents. I literally talk about anything because I feel like they understand it. They don't demean it. You know, they understand what's going on because they are even thinking bigger than I am.
Like
right?
they believe you can even be bigger than, you know, you still think with your limitations of, oh, I can only do this. I mean, your parents are there telling you, oh, you know, you can be the president.
And
you
it's not even aggressive. It's not even
like,
the,
oh, you're a push.
Yeah, it's not even the you must have 100 over 100 kind of thing. It's the push of, we see that you are doing this thing, but you can be better. Like, obviously, I'm not saying that they rub their head. My dear, if you grew up in a Nigerian home, you understand that is by discipline and things like that. But like, you understand that these people is not from a place of hate, you know.
Yeah.
So, but it's different from some other person who did not have that experience. So the question is, how do you now start to love yourself after you've had the experience of, you know, when you hear people like Joyce Mayer's story, how she was abused, like you hear people's stories and you're like, there's this person has been far away from loving herself because she has not even seen any hint of it. So how do you advise such a person?
Well, the first advice, as always, is always like God, right? Because I feel that there are some things that, you know how Jesus said, these ones can only go by prayer and fasting. There are some things that except God's hand is in it. I don't know how it wants to happen by human intervention, honestly. Because when you think about stories like that, and I was just like the Joyce Meyer story, I was listening to another podcast recently about this pastor was giving an example of, you know, people in church, and it was talking about something similar to this, like love and everything. And he was saying that a girl that she's living with her father and her brother, but they've been sleeping with her since she was maybe 12 years old, and now she's like maybe 18, and they know, the father knows that the brother is sleeping with her, the brother.
Crazy,
so that kind of life, and you now come out and you now start saying, you know, how do you love such a person, or how does that person want to understand what love is when their father has been raping them and abusing them right from time, their brother and everything. And you know, you can't even think about humanly, because what do you want to do exactly? Do you want to tell them that, oh, not, you know, what do you want to do exactly? So I feel a lot of times some of this is just like God has to like really touch their hearts. God has to like really open them up to see that, to be ready to heal, basically. And again, another thing I would say is also like therapy. Therapy is going to do, I won't say work wonders, because God is the wonder working God, but therapy is going to do a lot for you. Because when you start reflecting and introspecting on, oh, you know, it's even when you are grown up and you do some things that you now start asking yourself, why exactly do you do some things? You now realize that, oh, maybe when you were 6 years old, somebody told you stop looking like that, or stop standing like that, you know, things like that. So, you know, therapy will help you to experience, like go through all those things, sift through all those memories, sift through some of the things that you've experienced and what it means and how it has shaped your life currently. So first of all, God has to intervene. Then even in times when it feels like, okay, maybe God is not intervening, like you have to be ready to accept the fact that there's a problem and that you want to take care of that problem. And how are you going to take care of that problem? Start with, you've acknowledged the first, that's like the first step to recovery. But like you also have to like take some credible steps, and one of them is therapy. Going to therapy, and like obviously, and I've heard a lot of stories about therapy, and a lot of people that go to therapy will tell you that therapy is like dating. You don't just find one therapist and become like, that does not just become your therapist. Like, so you like, it's a trial and error process. Some people you meet and they're like bad for you. Some people you meet and it's like, oh, a match made in heaven, right? So yeah. That's what I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. I think again, number one overall is love. Again, God loved us before we even before we knew him, before we loved him.
Yeah.
Again, everything we're talking about is what's the form of love that you understand. So there's always somebody there that I feel like that's when I've heard people's stories of how their eyes became open and they understand that there's a greater love than everything that they've ever experienced. And then when they now acknowledge it, they now realize that their purpose here on earth is bigger than what they can ever imagine.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, and when you said something like, even when you don't, I mean, some people, again, sometimes you don't realize it. Sometimes you cannot phantom it until you experience it. But I feel like once you get to that point and you experience, and it starts very easy by just saying God, like when I've listened to Joyce Meyer's story, and then how I followed her 1 year, whatever, last year. And then, seeing how you acknowledge, just like you said, acknowledge that there's a problem, and then going into that place of vulnerability with God and saying, look, I don't know where to start from. Like I don't even understand. I don't even see anything good. I don't even, understand what this self-love is, but Lord, help me.
Yeah.
Like it's step by step. It's just one step at a time.
Tiny.
Then taking an extra step of, just like you said, going to therapy, talking to somebody about it, taking it, like, opening up, because some people have bottled in so many things, and you can't tell people some things that they will understand. For instance, just like I said, we grew up differently than other people. Some people maybe even experience more love than we did. Some people, when they wake up in the morning, their mother will kiss them and say, oh, good morning, baby.
Good morning, sweetheart.
How are
I
you,
love you. I made some breakfast for you.
My parents not telling me they love me until it's the reason they're not telling me that. In fact, these days when they say I find it so hard to say, because I'm like, bro, I'm a grown up woman now. Like where have you been all these years?
Just to say one thing. I remember when I went to boarding school, and I think I was coming back, and it's just this funny thing. So 2 stories in one. But I remember that before we went on, maybe we went on like a mid-term break or like a semester break, or not semester, sorry, term break. And I remember that me and one of my closest friends at that time, we were fighting. So we were still fighting when we left school. So when we now came back, in my head, I was like, this fight continues. Like, and then obviously phones were not like a big thing then. So to me it was like, we were fighting then, you will still remember that we are fighting now. So when she came, I was just looking at her, and she was like, oh my Lord, and she was there opening her hand, and I'm like, why? Like, first of all, why are you opening your hand? Because I didn't even know.
Fighting.
Yeah, and again, it was very awkward for me, because like, why are you hugging me and all of that? But like, that's just a funny.
So some people have experienced, even better, but some people haven't had that opportunity, and they have a lot in their mind that they cannot tell. For instance, if you tell me that kind of story, obviously I will empathize with you, but I might not be able to relate with you. But if you talk to a professional, somebody who has heard different stories, somebody who has been trained, they can also help you. You can open up to them. They can also help you to see, things in a different perspective. So, but our prayers are with you. If anybody has had that kind of experience, because again, we don't choose, like,
you don't choose your family.
You
don't choose the family you are born into, right?
But one thing is, just understand that you are not worthless, you're not useless, you're definitely created. That's one thing I'm sure everybody is created for a purpose.
And I was going to mention something about when you were talking about how you might not be able to empathize with somebody's experience. And it's very funny, because for example, now imagine, there are some people that they are very close to their dad. Some people are close to them. They'll be like, oh, father, daughter, like that. They'll tell you that their father is their best friend. And now look at that example of the one that the father was abusing her. So, that kind of person is telling you something, and in your head, you just can't wrap your head around it. It's like, it sounds so foreign. It sounds so foreign. So, it's just like using this as like a very not related example. If you remember, was when I think the first time we cooked okra or something, and I was telling you, so in my house we cooked the okra that you mix all the ingredients together. But I think in Yoruba land, the normal one is that they make it white and you make a stew. And the first time I saw it, I was like, is it that they are trying to conserve like ingredients or something? Why are they doing it like this? So to me, I could not wrap my head around the fact that it was not like a cost saving thing, because that was not what I was used to. So when I now called my mom, I was saying that, she wasn't like, hey, yes, now that's how they do it. I wasn't like, but why are you acting like why are you acting like this is something that is normal? It's not normal for me. So that's just an example. And so another question or another dimension to this question is that, how do you now, or let me say it like this, when you have those kinds of situations and you've acknowledged that, I know sometimes too, some people are in, because a lot of these relationships are toxic, right? And most times, as human beings, you do not want to leave your comfort zone. You don't want to leave what you know. So, and you hear stories of people who maybe they've been abused, or even, it might not even be like sexual abuse or whatever, but like, it's just like emotional abuse. But you find them still going back. You find them still going back to their family, and it's like, oh, even when you hear of people that maybe their husbands beat them, and a lot of organizations on Twitter, they'll tell you that, oh, this woman has run back to her husband, blah, 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 blah. How do you now, you know that you are in trouble, you know that you're in a toxic environment, you know that. How do you now learn to love yourself even in those moments, like even in that situation, or how do you learn to escape?
I mean, I think it goes back to, again, this whole form of self-love, acknowledging the fact that you were built for a purpose. I feel like when people start to understand the purpose of which God has created them, you know that they have much more inside of them than somebody beating them up. You know, for instance, if you were born into a family, say for instance, and then let's say deep inside of you that God has created you to, for instance, be like the CEO of like the World Bank, for instance, you know that's the vision that you see. So when somebody tries to give you something less, you know that no, this is you know that I have a higher purpose. You're like, no, now, like, how can I? You are not there yet, but you know, like, let's say God even appeared to you in a dream and say, this is your. So you carry that in your head. You're like, no, this is exactly why I'm here. So I feel like when everybody understands that your purpose in life is greater than somebody beating you up.
But I understand what you're saying. But now imagine you're in an environment where every day you're waking up to them saying you're a stupid person.
So that's what so we are still going back to what we've said before about you're a product of your experience, and the way we literally just said it, like the way to get out of it is, number one, acknowledge that God has a purpose for you, and going back to him to say, you know what, I know that you love me, and I know that you created me for a particular purpose. Help me to see it, help me to walk in that way, like show me one step at a time. Going into therapy, because again, this is a lot more psychological most times. People go back to, and again, how people say the devil that you know today, and it's because this is exactly what you know, this is what you have seen. Maybe the people around you, maybe your own is even better. Maybe the people that even grew up around you have had worst case. So
you're even still feeling like you are still okay. Yours is okay. Yours is an okay.
And there are people that when you hear that story, you hear how they are that person, that's like that one person that was like the exception, like they just left that environment, and then they're now going back to now tell people that
bring other people out.
You are much more than. So again, it's just going back to how we've answered that question before, that look, number one, God has, go back to him and say, look, let me tell you something. This is one thing I know for sure, and I'm going to say it again. God has created you for a purpose. This is one thing I know for sure. And if you don't know it, and if you feel like you haven't, and if you have not felt about that, go back to him and say that, show me, help me to walk in that way. And it's not like you wake up today. Some people have dreams, some people have visions and things like that, but not majority don't. So, but let him give you that wisdom. Let him take you through that step one step at a time. Like, just keep trusting him to say, no, take me out of this. You'll be surprised. Like, there are people that when I hear the stories, I'm like, like in the middle of all of, again, I'm using Joyce because I've heard that story. There are a lot of other people that have gone through worse things, and then they are able to come out of it. And then they are not like that light in their family. Some people go back and, encourage people and say, look, this is not how life should be. There's a higher purpose for you than this. So I think, we can't talk about, again, maybe later when we meet more people, we can maybe bring a professional who has had like experiences and things like that to talk about it.
But I wanted to mention one other thing. I wanted to mention one other thing about the message I said I was into. Actually, I remember the title of the message. It's called Trauma. It's by Apostle Femi Lazarus. And there was a particular analogy that he made, and he was saying that you see a particular, maybe a boy or girl, that maybe a boy in this instance now, he grew up in a family where the dad beats the mom every day, and and he grows up with this process or with this mindset of, I will never beat a woman and everything. And he now said that at the end of the day, you realize that guy, that boy that has grown up now, he still has a higher tendency of beating a woman rather than the one who has never seen it in his life at all. Because he said there are some things that might not happen, that maybe when he now eventually ends up beating a woman, you're not saying, this is probably why my father was always beating my mother. Like, because he said, as long as you've been exposed to a particular experience, you have
it shapes
your mindset. So he said, at the end of the day, if you look at somebody who has never experienced that kind of thing, and that person, the probability that he will beat a woman eventually is higher for somebody who has seen it, lived through it, rather than one who has never seen it before. Because that one who has never seen it before, it was never an option for him. So it's not like he knows that, he doesn't even know that there's anything like that. Do you understand? So
God will help us. God will help us. And I mean, we join hands to pray for anyone that's going through such a situation. We say that God will, help you, show you, and help you to understand. Understand your purpose on earth. Anyway, so we've talked about self-love. Let's talk about self-care. Let's talk about, having boundaries for mental.
I was going to say the same thing.
For your mental space, for your even physical space, how do you take it? We've talked about you love yourself and things like that, but how do you now, let's talk about self-care. How do you care for yourself? How do you maintain sanity basically in this? Because plenty things are happening in this world though. Like again, since social media is like where the world is now, you just go online, see different anything you are looking for, you find it there.
You find it. This one is Twitter. I find everything on Twitter. So I wanted to say something about boundaries. And I think boundaries are like, if you don't have boundaries, get boundaries. But recently I had to develop boundaries when it came to finances. And I know finance, money is another topic. But something was happening recently where there's a particular person who was always reaching out to me. And it was always about money. So when I'm looking through the chat history, I'm like, we do not say any other thing except, hello, Ebun, please, I'm going through. I'm not saying you can't go through tough times, right? But it's like, I'm texting you now, it's like, Ebun, I'm going through this, blah, 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 blah. And I was just looking, I think that day I just sat down. And, it happened like that consistently. Consistently, I mean. And, and I always sent, and the thing about it is that it was money that was not, if I have, I will give. So, in thinking about boundaries, when I learned that boundaries for money was when I knew that, I used to borrow people money and I'll be suffering. So, but, I had to learn that, most times my mindset is I will give you money that I know that if you don't pay me back, I will not fight you or beef you. I know that, okay, I'm good to that level. But, I just sat down that day and I was just looking, I was just like, this person does not, hello, hi, nothing. And I realized, and it's just, I need money. I was like, wow, you yourself, you're on the opposite end of it. Do you actually, how don't you, because sometimes too, I feel that, there are people that will tell you that you can ask for help at any time, blah, 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 blah. But I also feel that it's also good to have a genuine connection with people.
Yeah.
Because you can't just come and meet them and say, please help me
Some people take that
for granted.
And then they come to you for every little thing. See, this matter, if we start it, we don't go finish them.
So, I just had to, with advice from people too, and just say that, let me draw a line. Because I just had to draw a line that, okay, this thing has to stop. Because you can't, it's like you are using somebody, I felt like I was being used. When you're a cow and they are squeezing you, anytime they are squeezing you, and I'm like, you don't even ask, okay, what's going on with you? How are things going for you? Everybody's saying the country is hard, this. What's happening with you? And the funny thing is that you're saying, can you borrow me this? I will pay you back by. But that back by
is never back.
It is never back. It has never backed.
Oh my God. See, that's a black tax. That's it's called black taxing. And again, I think finance is one thing that we'll talk about on the podcast.
We have a chartered accountant here. Why would we not talk about? Why did we not start with finance? Why did we not start with finance?
Oh my God. I think chartered accountant or not, I'm very passionate about money. And I've had this conversation with, in fact, I still had a conversation with one of my friends, one of my childhood friends recently, about black taxing. And when you're in the abroad, like my fellow Nigerians would say it.
When you're in the abroad,
there's a perception that you
are swimming in money.
Like when you walk on the streets of Atlanta, you just see $100.
Anytime you enter your house, dollars is showering from the air.
We shower with money. So people automatically assume. So again, talking about financial boundaries, that's why I said, in the last episode, that a lot of my friends are people that have act of services. They're thoughtful, they're not selfish, right? So, and I can, money is one thing that I'm so passionate about that I can smell it from afar. When you are again, just like you said, using me for money. I can smell it from afar. And I just create that distance. Number one, first of all, you will never see my updates.
Actually,
you won't know. You might not. You won't even remember.
I don't even update. I don't even post that often. That's
but
funny
you post.
thing.
And people, you even if it's not even a picture of yourself, you post. People know that. Some people have even forgotten. They don't even know, because again, it's like your sanity is very important. See, these days, I choose peace. Anything that will make me go back to sleep and start thinking about. So I think about different things when I go back to sleep, but it's for my growth and how
you want to move forward,
not something that will stress me. So once I see that you want to start adding stress to my life, I'm going to cut it, because I can also play the victim.
Yeah,
I've had things not go well for me, and
how many people knew?
Like,
how many people even thought to ask how you are? So that was the problem. That was like
posting Ebun is alive and she's abroad, so what could go wrong, right? But things have gone wrong before, and I did not. In fact, I don't even think I asked anybody for anything. Not because, and I mean, I'm not saying don't ask anybody for anything, but if you are that person that once somebody sees your message, they already know that, oh, this person is coming to crowdfund for me. They would see. The thing is, so again, if you're like this, the thing is, immediately it might not show. Immediately people will show up for you.
But after a
but
while,
in the long run, people will run from you. And we're talking about people that have how I talked about watching a documentary where you call one person and 5 people answer you because this girl is of integrity.
That's a big thing.
So if you are now that kind of person that once you message somebody, they know that you're asking. There are some of my friends that if they ask me money, I won't read it twice. I'm sending it to them straight up. And on the other end, there are some people that if I see your chat, I will read it. I will leave it unread. And I'm saying this with all, because the thing is, people, again, we've said it a lot of time, people are passing through things. And if you feel like it is right for you not to ask them about how they are faring, it is right for you not to even care. And you feel like when you ask for something, they will show up for you. They might show up for you the first time, the second time, the third and fourth time, people will run from you. So now, as the other person that is giving out, I will say, look, find a way to have boundaries with people. Let them understand. Again, I'm a very transparent person. If you know me, if you come to me and I feel like there are different types of people. If we are not so close, I won't answer you, because that number one, there are even so many messages coming in and I'm trying to let me, so if I now see that your own is that person, number one, I won't reply you. Now, if I now reply you, I'll just tell you that, look, thank God that all of us, thank God for our lives. So God will help us all in the name of Jesus. I will pray for you in the name of Jesus.
But
God will help us all.
The Bible says, if your neighbor is hungry,
and
he comes to meet you.
Oh, is it the person that will tell me that one?
No, I'm telling you, the Bible says, and he comes to meet you. Will you just pray for him? No, you have to give him bread.
Oh no, it's not like I've never given you bread before. I have. You cannot say that I've not given you bread before.
What did you use the bread to do?
without you even asking me. In fact, some people don't even have to ask me money. There are certain people that, in fact, I create provision for giving, as part of because I know that there's no way people will need something. I know that again, Nigeria is something that people so you don't even have to ask me. But again, if I now see that you are taking advantage of that, then that's something different, and I also need to protect my own mental space. So I'll just draw the line. I will most likely just say, look, I'm also a student and we are all going through these things together. I might not be telling you what I'm also passing through, but we are also passing through a lot of things. If you are very close to me, if I will give you, but don't expect me to always, stand up and show up to fund your lifestyle. Now that's you taking advantage of me, and I won't allow it.
And people have audacity. That's one thing I'll mention. But one other thing I wanted to mention is the fact that a lot of times when I give out money, so because I have this mindset of anybody I'm giving money to, is like, I don't expect you to pay me back. Even if you say you're going to pay me back. If you pay me back, well and good. But I don't expect you to pay me back. So I don't give out monies that I know that if I don't get it back, I will not be having sleepless night. No, I don't do that. So I remember one time like that somebody asked me to borrow them money. They didn't need money to complete payment for an examination. And for sure now, it's something to help your life and all of that. And the funny thing is that most times when I borrow people money, I always forget immediately. So I don't keep track of it. So I didn't forget it, but I was just one time, I was just like, I've not heard from so and so person. Now let me even greet this person. And I just texted the person that, oh, hi, how are you? Before the person even said, oh, I'm fine. He said, don't worry, I haven't forgotten your money. I was like, that's true. I even borrowed this person money. So that guilt of, oh, this person is probably, because I think the person had passed the deadline, but I didn't even remember. That was not like, the person was like, oh, I'll pay you back by the end of the month or 2 months or whatever. So I was reaching out back to like, just to greet it. In all honesty, I wasn't asking for like the money or anything.
Yeah.
But the person was like, that guilt of, and the funny thing about it is that when you're not, we talked about integrity. You talk, things happen, life happens. But you said, oh, Ebun, borrow me money till the end of February. I will give it back to you. I have an examination to pay for. The end of February is coming, and you know that you are most likely not going to be able to get that money, and you don't say anything. I feel like that's when it's not fair. That's when it's unfair. That's when you are using people.
That the least you can do is, I'm sorry, I know that the time is coming up.
Yeah, but I can't actually afford to give you this money now.
Yeah.
But you didn't say anything. You were silent. So me, if I was even coming as per my friend, though, I've not heard from you in a while. Oh, how are you? Like, I've not heard from you in the sense that, how are you? Not even like I've not heard from you for money. Like, how are you? But before you can even respond and say, oh, I'm fine, or how are you back, we're already saying, Omo-Olorun, I've not forgotten you. I'm like,
you know what you did now. You know what you did. But anyway, I mean, again, it's good to give to people when you can, But again, I'm not a fan of people taking advantage of you now. I don't like it. And I feel like you're just taking me as a stupid person that has nothing to do with my money, nothing to do with my life. So no, I will not allow that.
And the funny thing is that a lot of people that are emotionally abused, they use, like, a lot of people that are emotionally abused, they always use things like this for them.
They will now guilt trip you and be like,
I hate guilt tripping. Like, I've taken care of you. Especially for people that maybe their family is abusive to them. Like, oh, I carried you in my womb for 9 months, or I paid for your school fees, or whatever. So, it now brings them, like, I know at least we follow people on social media, people that tell their stories and they talk about all these things. And it's like, oh, it's very easy when you've not been in that situation to say, oh, just cut off from your family. But a family that you've grown up with for 30, 40 plus years, how do you just suddenly cut off from your family? It's not easy. It's not the easiest thing to do, but yeah,
at the
boundaries.
End of the day. Because again, it's just again for your own sanity. You have to, sometimes you have to also be emotionally intelligent about it. It's not everybody that can just say, oh no, I can't do it. You just have to be emotionally intelligent. When you are talking to them, don't talk to them as if you have all the money in the whole world. Some people, they have gone to brag in their house that they are building castles in America, when we all know that it's not the same America that we are in, that the tax, the utilities, I can't even talk about the expenses, so
Bills.
Again, don't create a picture of what you are not. Also just be transparent with people. Again, my dear, God will bless me. I used to pray God will bless all of us.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's God that will do it. So, but I mean, again, it's not. You just have to create that boundary. Sometimes it's family, and sometimes you need to cut some people off. Some people will never leave you.
Have parasitic relationships.
Some people will never leave you. Some people will never
you.
leave you. And they will. And the thing is, do you know the funny thing? Like they used to say, if you die today, it's your next of kin that will take over everything that you have. So don't let anybody now, kill you. Again, it's not as easy as what we are saying.
With that same quote, the things that you cherish, that you're like, oh, you're keeping it and you're saving it, those are the first things your next of kin will sell off.
That's it though. That's it though.
They'll be like, what's all this? I beg.
God help us. God help us. So yeah, we have to be very, and then also talking about, creating boundaries. Again, it's very important to create boundaries, against what social media is, what social media is defining for you. Some people just give themselves unnecessary pressure. Somebody has done wedding now. Somebody has done like 50 outfits now. I see. Protect your mental. Protect
Understand
your
what
space.
is important to you.
That's the thing.
Allow only specific things to enter your mental space. One thing I had to do for myself too, I think I mentioned it during when I did that preaching during Youth Sunday, is that I think I'm a very visual person and I see a lot of things because I'm interested in a lot of things. So I will go left and right. And people say that sometimes I used to go deep into some useless things. In fact, the things I've researched in this life. But I just realized that sometimes I'll see some things recurring, and it will start affecting the way I think about some things, or and I just had to tell myself that what, I'm cutting this thing off, or I'm going to reduce the amount of time I spend. And social media is a big factor. Me, I don't do a lot of Instagram kind of social media, but I do all this kind of Reddit, all these X, forums that people will be discussing. People will be talking about conspiracy theories, and I'll be there looking at it like, oh, what's happening? There was a time that there was a conspiracy theory that Britney Spears is not real, and I went deep. I was like, it's looking true that this one is not real. So things like that. But I realized that it was affecting how I was thinking about some certain things. And there's some people that will just throw some like thoughts, opinions, and points about some certain things, and you will just find yourself very susceptible to to their own thought thinking without even thinking about it yourself. So when you realize those weaknesses, cut it off immediately. Like don't dwell on it, don't stress on it. Just like, okay, I'm not doing this anymore. Cut it out. Like X.
Everybody has an opinion. That's time that if you go on social media, anything that you're looking for, you see there.
You can find an opinion. There are people
that's
called,
why Twitter, all those things, sometimes you send me something and then I'll just read it, and then maybe if sometimes I'm sure you're expecting me to write something about, but you're like, okay, cool, this person is okay, cool, next. Because again, I feel like so many things are happening at once. Especially, so I'm someone that when I sleep or when I'm thinking about, like, sometimes even again I have no control over my future, but sometimes I'm thinking about, like, what I want to look like in the next. There's so many things going through my head. There's one major project now that I'm discussing with my sister, and I'm like, okay, let's, like, this project I'm talking about is not something that will happen, something that might never happen this year, and then I'm already saying, okay, we're already drafting things. So like, I like to think about, like, forward thinking things, like, okay, like some things, for instance, this podcast, do you know how many times I've talked about, some things that, so even things that I'm doing personally, even things I'm doing career-wise, I'm like, okay, how do I want to be in the next? So like, there's so many things that is going on, and I'm not saying, I think a lot, that anytime I'm saying that is thinking I'm not really, but there are sometimes I just have reflective moments. So when I go on Instagram, I now see things that, like, and I'm not even saying, sometimes I go on TikTok and I'll now be clicking, but trust me, after that time, I know
it's like
I don't even, somebody will say, they stress us. I don't, like, I don't stress myself. It's just that I
you
feel
channel
like
your energy to what you want to channel your energy to.
So if it's not affecting me, like, personally, or somebody that is around me, or even anything around me, I'm like, it's not my business. Okay, this person is alive or not. Okay, cool. Like, okay, if person, like, how has this person affected? If person, how has this person affected? It does not affect me in any way. So why am I so concerned?
And we are the real one that is stone-hearted. Yeah,
what am I building? But now, if it's something that now concerns me, that one is a different case entirely. If it's something about maybe somebody that, maybe somebody did something, that one is different entirely. But if it's just all this, somebody did wedding, somebody did Ashweb. I will admire your Ashweb. Trust me, I do that because I love fashion. But I will now go, till now, if you ask me, what does your typical wedding look like? I have no clue. Do you want to wear ball gown or struggle? I have no clue. Do you want to do cake?
See, the funny thing is that
no clue.
The day of my wedding, that's the day I'm going to find out too.
Because I'm like, okay, when we get to that bridge, I know of course I don't want to get married. I know I want to, but when we get to that bridge, sometimes when you ask me something, when we get to that bridge,
we will cross it though. Because honestly, what does the Bible say? Something of the day is enough. Sufficient is the trouble of the day. Sufficient is the what?
It is. Oh,
Matthew.
But again, let me not undermine, because again, things are passing through. People are passing through different things, and let me not undermine.
Because I think
what people
a
pass
lot
through.
of things that I see online. So that's why I limit what I see online. I limit the kind of content I see online. So X is something that I think even before I started using X, Toby helped me. She told me how to, because she's on Twitter a lot, and she told me how to curate my list. And she was like, because there are some times that you might not be following people,
but you see posts from them.
Even apart from that, so it's just like saying I follow you, then you follow. Not use you as an example. I follow somebody, and maybe that person is following maybe some kind of X-rated content or whatever. If that person likes that thing, it will be showing on my timeline.
Oh, okay.
That kind of thing. So I will not be opening it. You might not be seeing like what you're not supposed, like something that is not fit for me to see. So she was telling me about. I was like, okay. So most times, if I see somebody that quotes something that is related to maybe something, I'm like, nah, this thing is triggering me. Immediately, I'm blocking you. I'm blocking the person that posted it. I'm blocking everything, because I'm like, I don't need this in my space. And again, whatever you interact with, it's kind of like TikTok. Whatever you interact with,
giving you the content,
the same thing about it. So it's like, okay, I'd rather not. So not interested. So and it's very easy for you to get, like, social media. Social media is everywhere now. It's easy for you to be on. So even right now, I'm not even on TikTok because I had to put a timer on my TikTok, and that timer, as the timer is expiring, I'm ignoring. every single day I'm ignoring. So when the new year started, I'm like, TikTok, right now, I don't need you in my life.
Yeah.
So since I started this year, I've not been on TikTok. So I think once you understand and identify that, okay, this thing might become a problem for me, or this thing might become my weakness for me, eliminate it immediately, like cut it off. You can set yourself like I'm kind of person that if I'm saying I'm not doing this thing, I won't do it. So even if you're not that kind of person, set
have accountability.
Have accountability. Like set some like paces for yourself, some like small wins. Like, okay, I won't use TikTok for Mondays or Wednesdays or whatever. Set from there, you will find out that suddenly you've not used it in like a week and you are fine. You did not die, and you will not die. So things like that. It's good for you to create boundaries with social media too, as well. So
I mean, do what makes you grow, do what makes you happy, don't go and add unnecessary stress for yourself.
Don't add unnecessary. Create personal boundaries, especially with money. That will be my daily dose of you. Like, honestly, try to find when people are not being genuine with you and trying to squeeze you, because it's not kind, it's not fair. So just create healthy boundaries with people create healthy boundaries in general concerning your finances, concerning your relationships, concerning social media. And what's your daily dose of EO today?
So my daily dose would be on the other side of you being the person that is causing all these things. Like, don't be that person who, when people see your message, everybody's running from you.
People leave you on red for 2 days.
Because I ask myself, I think it's just from family. My father always say, what will people say when they hear your name? There are some things that I see my parents, my mother do, or there are even privileges that I've taking advantage that people have given to me because of what my parents did, and that's because they are people of integrity. So now, what kind of name am I making for myself? Am I someone that if my kids are somewhere and they hear, oh, this is the am I the kind of person that they'll be like, oh my god, I have to, like, I've literally been in those situations where people are like, I have to help this person because this person's parent. So be that kind of person and I'm not even saying don't ask for help. Ask for help when you need it, but also be the kind of person that show up for other people when integrity. They need your help. Don't be that person that you are the one that's always saying give me. When you think, oh, people don't show for me, ask yourself deep down, like, when last did I actually show up for somebody? When last did when last did I do something genuine for somebody and not from the act of selfishness? Because trust me, everybody is going through life, even if they don't see it,
even if they don't say it, or even if people look rosy. And a lot of times people post people just post their throwback pictures as present pictures, and people just assume.
Nobody posts the bad side on social media.
Then imagine you now posting the bad side. It's not like, why is this one now telling us like you're in America now?
Exactly.
Why are you not telling us that you're suffering? Like, exactly. That come as things like that. People start talking rubbish. So
let's be honest people. Let's be people of integrity. And well, I think this is the end of this episode.
Because this episode was deep.
It's even longer than we thought it was going to be. So please, again, follow us so that you can see our dance when we get to 100. When we get to 100 followers. But thank you for listening to us. See you in the next one. Bye.